Ryo Akiyama, probably one of the more mysterious characters in the Digimon anime. He is the fourth Tamer that combines with his Digimon, Cyberdramon, to become a Justimon. But this is far from the first time we've seen him in the anime. The first time we see him is technically in our war game, but that's not until later, is in a flashback from Ken Ichijoji, when he, Wormmon, and Ryo defeat a massive, mysterious Digimon. And Ken is hit with the Dark Seed, which leads him to becoming the Digimon Kaiser later on. But why? And what is that giant, mysterious Digimon that they were fighting? And what's the connection between Ryo from Adventure and Ryo from Tamers? This is explained through a series of games that we never got here in the US. Because the console was never released outside Japan. Introducing the WonderSwan, a handheld that can be played either vertically or horizontally. But it was outpaced by both Nintendo and Sony and only held 80% of the total market in Japan. Thus, Bandai never considered releasing the WonderSwan outside Japan. There was an English version of the first game, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for the Digimon lore. Ryo is the main protagonist of 4 games, starting with Anode Tamer and Cathode Tamer. It all begins on Christmas Day or the New Year's Eve of 1999, depending on which source you read. Over 4 months after Taichi and the gang defeated the Dark Masters and the Pokemon. Agumon, the very same one that fought alongside of Taichi, gets in contact with Ryo, and a Digivice appears out of Ryo's computer. Basically, Agumon needs Ryo's help because the Chosen Children have been captured by Millenniumon and has revived all the enemies that they once fought in Digimon Adventure. The two travel the digital world and fight against Devimon, Edamon, Vamdemon, and Piamon, and rescue most of the Chosen Children along the way. Finally, they face off against Millenniumon and free Taichi. We're gonna count how many times I can say Millenniumon in this video. Anyway, they say their goodbyes, and that's the end of it. For now, at least. And as mentioned earlier, Ryo is also in our war game. He is watching the whole fight between the Chosen Children and Diablomon while he's somewhere in the mountains or a forest, because that's what you do in those environments, is go on your laptop to watch digital monsters fight against each other. Anyways, next game, 02 Tag Tamers, or 02 Tag Tamers rather. While Ryo is at Ken's house, a D3 appears from the computer. Again, the Digivice coming from the computer, along with V-mon. And yes, it's the same one that partners with Daisuke later on in the series. Ryo is once again summoned to the digital world to fight against a copy of Diablomon, which made its way off of the internet into the digital world. But it in fact was not Diablomon. It was a ruse by Millenniummon, who had survived the initial battle between him and Ryo. And the Millenniummon traps both Ryo and V-mon, but then Wormmon, Ken's partner, appears before him, and then the two travel the digital world. One thing I did forget to mention is that when both V-mon and Ryo are freed, finally, they, along with Ken and Wormmon, they go on their separate adventures to rebuild or build the Digimentals, which are used against Millenniummon. Eventually they fight alongside Ryo and defeat Millenniummon again. But as Millenniummon is defeated, he tries to fire Dark Seeds at Ryo. Ken pushes Ryo out of the way and takes the hit in the neck, which, as mentioned earlier, leads to him becoming the Digimon Kaiser in 02. Next game, 02 D1 Tamers. Ken is sick in bed, and Ryo is kidnapped by the Holy Beasts to train and fight in a tournament, which all leads up to another fight with, you guessed it, Millenniummon. Again. This time, Millenniummon has evolved into Moon Millenniummon. Millenniummon explains to Ryo that he and Ryo hold the same power, and neither can exist without the other. Basically, the "you and I are the same" trope in other shows. After Millenniumon is defeated yet again, there's an explosion that happens, and Millenniumon is sent to the future, while Ryo is sent to the past. Which brings us to our fourth and final game, Brave Tamer. This is where we meet Monodramon, Ryo's final partner. We also meet the Thing, the second digital computer ever activated, and tells Ryo that the reason why there are so many digital worlds is because of the activation of Atensof, the first digital computer ever to be activated. Atensof created all the digital worlds, and the digital worlds all have their own realities. And we all know where this is going. Ryo teams up with Monodramon and the other Tamers from the Tamers anime, and the Chosen Children from the Adventures anime. Together, they all defeat Zed Millenniumon. But there's a twist. Zed Millenniumon tells Ryo that he is Ryo's true partner. And the Monodramon is like, no, I am. And the two argue over who is Ryo's real partner, until Monodramon forces a Jogger's evolution with Zed Millenniumon to create a Digitama, which later becomes Cyberdramon in the Tamers anime. And how does Ryo appear in the Tamers anime? He is given a choice between which universe he would like to stay in, and for whatever reason, he chooses the Tamers universe. There's no reason really given, and there's no real explanation of why Ryo's parents also are transferred to the Tamers universe. They're just kind of there. They're just kind of vibing, man. And that's why Cyberdramon is really hard for Ryo to control, is because part of Cyberdramon is Zed Millenniumon. And the real fun part about all this is it's all canon, not just to Tamers, but to Adventure as well. It was directly referenced in Adventure 02 and Ken's flashbacks not once, but twice. Meaning Tamers is very technically a sequel to Adventure. I tried to see if there was a connection between the Millenniumon we see in Adventure 2020 and the WonderSwan games, but there doesn't really appear to be. Same thing goes for Ghost Game and the Cross Wars manga. Let me know if there's any details that I missed down below in the comments, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content just like this. Goodbye.